Good evening and welcome to another edition of our COVID-19 pandemic update on Channels Television in collaboration with the Ford Foundation. I'm Millicent Nwaka. Here are some of the highlights this hour. Today, PTF briefing holds worries over increasing spread of infections among health workers nationwide. In the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, how do journalists practice without fear? That's our theme this evening. And Channels Television donates palliatives to the Lagos State government for onward delivery to the vulnerable in society. US and UK researchers discover recurring COVID-19 mutations. Well, against the backdrop of famine, conflict zones, elections, protests, journalists are on the front line covering the stories that matter. And certainly this coronavirus pandemic is not left out, with journalists disseminating information and educating the public on the dangers of COVID-19. But just like health workers, some of them have been caught up, infected with the virus, while others relentlessly cover high-risk areas to get the people's stories and most times the help they need. On our theme this evening, we look at the new normal for journalists and the task to stay above the fake news and provide fair and balanced perspectives in the midst of a global pandemic. Now, 2,950 COVID-19 cases. That is the number of confirmed cases in Nigeria following the confirmation of 148 new cases by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) last night. According to the center, 481 patients have been discharged from various isolation centers and 98 deaths recorded. Currently, Lagos remains a state with the highest infections both in the southwest and the country, with a total of 1,226 cases, followed by Kano in the northwest with 397 cases. Next is the Federal Capital Territory in the north central with 307 cases. Borno has the highest figure in the northeast with 106 cases. Edo leads the south-south with 65 cases and 8 cases, Enugu leading the southeast. And now, Babajide Ogunsanwo, Channels Television's data analyst, is here with us. Good to see you.
It's always great to be here.
All right. Now, let's talk about Kano. There seem to be major concerns in that city. This is from its first index case to the number that we have in Kano. Everyone is curious about it.
Here's the challenge. Kano currently has 397 cases. Lagos has 1,226 cases. What does this mean? Lagos and Kano account for 55% of the total number of coronavirus cases we've seen in the country as of today. In other words, 1 out of every 2 persons that has the coronavirus is either living in Lagos or Kano. We've seen a lot of focus on Lagos, but here's why we need to be concerned about what is going on in Kano. The first is there's been a misunderstanding about Kano. There's a myth that Kano is the largest state in the northwest, but the evidence we have today from the Borders Commission shows that among the 7 states in the northwest, Kano, Kaduna, Katsina, Kebbi, Jigawa, Sokoto, and Zamfara, Kano State has the smallest land area, over 20,000 square kilometers. So Kano is the smallest state when it comes to land area, but when it comes to population in the northwest, Kano, yes, has the largest population. So the summary is the challenges we face in Kano is not because of the size of Kano in terms of land area, but it's because of the population density. We've got the largest population in Northwest, which is Kano State, and they also have Kano State, that's what I mean, Kano State also has the smallest land area. So the concerns about the coronavirus in Kano is because of its population density. A lot of people living within that small state.
Do you fear that there might be more spread of cases, more cases in the future for Kano?
For Kano, the key word is prevention. The government needs to focus on preventive steps than curative steps. Because of that population concerns, over 20 million people. And here's why the government needs to act fast. Because the evidence shows that more than half of those that are living in Kano, 57% are below the age of 18. So we see a lot of young population in Kano, and we see a lot of other interesting facts that we need to, and the government needs to use in planning its response. One thing that the government needs to also understand is the peculiarity of Kano. Unlike Lagos, where we have a lot of families living in the urban areas, Kano, 73% of families in Kano live in the rural areas. And that is how they need to really understand and act towards minimizing the spread of the virus in Kano. One concern again is, how do families react to the information that the government is spreading or sharing about the coronavirus in Kano? A lot of families in Kano do not believe about the coronavirus. So the question is, why aren't families really in tune, and why do they not believe what is going on in Kano? And the answer is here. 49% of the head of households in Kano do not have any formal education. That's a better way to understand it, Millicent, is to look at it from another perspective, and that is almost 1 in every 2 family head in Kano has no formal education. So it's quite difficult for them to really believe that there's a coronavirus that is killing them in Kano.
All right, we'll be taking a look. I mean, all eyes will be on Kano in the coming days. And this is hoping, of course, that the country can find a way to stop the spread of COVID-19. Thank you, Baba, today.
One other interesting way to stop the spread is also by looking at how we minimize the poverty rate in Kano.
All right, well, let's take you to the PTF briefing. The country is not close to lifting the ban, it says, on international flight operations yet, as the Presidential Task Force today gave a 4-week extension on the flight entry ban. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, also used the occasion to warn against the level of non-compliance currently being experienced nationwide.
In view of the fact that public transportation is a major clustering area through which the virus can easily be transmitted, we call on the leadership of various transport unions to properly enlighten their members on the dangers associated with non-adherence to the COVID-19 containment guidelines. We also urge them to educate their members on the ban imposed on interstate travels. Tomorrow marks the last day for the enforcement of the closure of Nigeria's airspace to flights. We have assessed the situation in the aviation industry and have come to the conclusion that given the facts available to us and based on the evidence of experts, the ban on all flights will be extended for an additional 4 weeks. I wish to repeat my call to the banks to also quickly address issues related to difficulty with using their online platforms, especially revalidating expired ATM cards, amongst others.
Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Hanire, the situation in Kano highlights the need to give intensive training to healthcare professionals in the country. He confirms the ministry will send supporting teams to different states to consolidate their efforts.
The reported cases of infection in Kano are a case in point, showing the urgent need for intensifying training, particularly among healthcare workers. It is clear that many doctors and nurses who are not familiar with the protocol for the infections of this caliber will benefit from the training. Community mobilizers have been deployed at the grassroots to continue to sensitize our people through the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency. We are encouraging and supporting states to increase the number of isolation centers nationwide and also the quality of the isolation centers. And we're extremely grateful to corporate organizations and philanthropists who have donated isolation facilities, diagnostic equipment, commodities, and sundry supplies relevant to our response effort to COVID-19 threat.